Hey there. Thanks for joining this video. Wow, that was the most boomer 65. Thank you for joining my YouTube channel today introduction. I got to get better at those. But anyways, thanks for joining. Kind of have a weird video today. It's just a little off of what I've been doing. It's just a random thought that I had that I thought would be good. Today, I want to talk to you briefly. This video may be 6 minutes long. I don't know. We'll see. About Emperor Constantine, and specifically Emperor Constantine and his influence over the Council of Nicea. Let me back way up. Way back when, in 325 AD, I believe that was the year, Emperor Constantine, who is the emperor of the Roman Empire at the time, called together all of the bishops in the Christian world and gather them together to have a council in the city of Nicea. And so this was considered the first ecumenical council, meaning that the entire church was represented there at least. So all the bishops are there who are leaders over, basically cities, groups of churches. And he calls them together to decide on the divinity of Jesus. And when I say decide, I don't mean the church was inventing doctrine, right? But that they are deciding on an interpretation of the scriptures. A guy named Arius, who was a pastor, presbyter, taught that Jesus was not God. He was a created being. He was the highest of all created beings, but still not God. And the Orthodox theologians taught that Jesus is God. And so anyways, he convenes this council for the bishops to gather together and decide, and they decide on Orthodox theology, which is that Jesus actually is God. I really encourage you to go read the Nicene Creed. But I say all that to say that a very common polemic, a very common argument that you will hear all the time that's really misinformed and really strange is that Emperor Constantine used his political power to gather the bishops together and force them to endorse his doctrine. That essentially Constantine invented Christian doctrine. And so whatever was settled there at Nicaea, we should just ignore, or we don't have to take it as, an authoritative interpretation or whatever else because he was wicked and evil and mean and bad and whatever else. It's just not true. It's just not true. And I just want to make two very brief points on people who say this, because what you'll hear from a lot of folks is that Emperor Constantine corrupted the church. He gave them a bunch of institutional power. The bishops became government lackeys. The Roman Catholic Church started being born, and the Pope would get power soon after this. This is all nonsense. And Constantine just corrupted everything. And so we need to return strictly to the Church of Acts, because anything pre this is just wicked and evil and whatever. Here's a couple things that you should know about Emperor Constantine. And I'm getting this from a book by Peter Leithart called Defending Constantine. Defending Constantine. It's a really good book. Leithart tells us that Constantine, he believes, had a genuine conversion to God. He was a man of his time. He was an emperor. He was a Roman. We're all people of our own times, influenced by our cultures and backgrounds. So don't be too arrogant there. He was too, but he believes he had a genuine conversion. And he believes that Emperor Constantine, as a genuine Christian and God-fearer, would not have disrupted a council, especially this council. I'm just going to give you two reasons. First reason is this. Emperor Constantine, as a man of his time, viewed the relationship between the emperor and his God as one in which the God that you serve and your service to that God has a direct relationship on the influence of the empire and the influence on your success in battles. So let me give you some background. The Roman emperors before Constantine believed that they needed to sacrifice to their pagan idols, to their pagan gods, who we know are just demons, because as those gods, as long as they are satisfied and happy by the worship of not just the emperor, but the entire empire, right, who would assist them in battle. So for every victory of a Roman emperor and for the success of the empire could be attributed not just to the genius of the emperor, not just to the strength of the people, but to the strength of their God. To defeat another army is for your God to defeat their God. You see, there's a direct connection. Religion and empire and life were intertwined. We're not used to that as people who live in a country of, separation of church and state. They definitely had a state religion, okay? And it was the pagan god of the day. So it was a direct reflection of your God and the greatness of your God. Constantine is coming at his relationship with God with this reflection, that the God he serves must be pleased. The God who's watching over him, who knows everything, because that God will either improve his reign and win battles for him, or has the power, if he is not pleased with him, to destroy him. And so now Constantine, as a genuine God-fearer, right, as somebody who claims to know Christ, who speaks well of Jesus, who speaks in very, very high language of Jesus, who for all we know, has abandoned the past gods and has declared that Yahweh is his God, Jesus is his God. This is who he is serving. He has a vested interest in not just paying lip service to Christians or paying lip service to God, but in genuinely pleasing God. Because in his mind, the success of my reign and our ability to win battles depends on me genuinely pleasing and believing in this God. It's a reflection of his day. So come to the council. When Constantine calls these bishops together in this empire in which religion and political success are intertwined, Constantine is not going to try and take his political power and force it on Christianity and force it on religion, because Constantine believes, like every other emperor of his day, that his political success actually depends on pleasing this God. Do you understand? Do you see the point? Constantine doesn't start with his power and force it on religion. He starts with God's power, who has a direct influence over his politics and his success. So as Constantine convenes this council, he has a vested interest in making sure that the bishops get to the actual truth, because the God who knows everything will not be pleased if they settle on a false view of him. If they call his son, who is God, not God, right? If they worship improperly, he has a vested interest as a political ruler, as the Roman emperor, not to force his views, but to get to the truth, because God will know. It's so important. It is key. For the other Roman emperors, the reason they're crucifying Christians and lighting them on fire and feeding them to the lions is because these Christians would not worship their idols. They would not sacrifice to their idols. And they thought, if the Christians won't sacrifice to our gods, then our gods won't be pleased and the empire will crumble. So we will sacrifice the Christians themselves to our gods. And guess what? It didn't work. The previous emperors weren't that successful, and Christianity didn't die, it grew. That was the mind of these emperors, including Constantine. I'm getting so passionate about this. He has a vested interest to please his God. Second reason is that it's very possible that Constantine himself had Arian tendencies. Meaning that it's very possible that his own view was that Jesus wasn't God. And yet, what did the council conclude that Jesus was? His mother, and I think it was his brother, were Arians. The church had to actually kind of deal with their influence after them. Or was it his son? I think it was his mother and his son. Anyways, he had 2 family members who were Arians. I believe it was his son who was an Arian. So the church had to deal with that later. And it's very possible Constantine himself was because of this influence. So what does that mean? That Constantine is surrounded by Arian influence. I'm not saying he was an Arian, but it's possible he was or had sentiments or was dealing with it. He's got people in his family, and what does he do? He accepts the position of the council that Jesus is God. Why? Because he actually cares about pleasing God, and he doesn't force his own opinion or his mother's opinion or his son's opinion or these other opinions on anybody else. I don't know why I'm so passionate about this. But the nonsense that Constantine corrupted Christianity, enforced his own views, and did all of this other stuff, it's just not true. So I want to encourage you, don't blame Constantine for all of Christianity's problems. Don't dismiss ancient Christianity. Go read the Nicene Creed right now and subscribe to every last article of it because it's true, it's ecumenical, and every bishop at the time, all of Christianity was represented there, okay? Read it, believe it. I'm sorry for getting so passionate about it. Let's not believe all this absolute tomfoolery about Constantine. He was not who we've painted him to be. He's not the ultimate boogeyman. Anyways, thank you for joining this video. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.